I've been hesitant to share this, but I think it's time to lay it all out. My name is Jake, and I'm a 38-year-old husband and father of two. This story is about betrayal and the chaos that follows when you discover someone you love has been hiding a dark secret. So here goes. My wife Melissa and I had been together for nearly 15 years. We met in college, fell in love, got married, and started a family. At least, that's how it was supposed to go, right? Our marriage was never perfect, but we had built a life together. We had a house in a decent neighborhood and two wonderful children, a 10-year-old son named Tyler and an 8-year-old daughter named Lily. Life was busy, but I thought we were managing just fine. That all changed last fall when I started noticing subtle differences in Melissa's behavior. She seemed distant, often lost in thought. At first, I shrugged it off as stress from work. She was a teacher at the local high school, and I knew how demanding that could be. I tried to be supportive, offering to handle more at home so she wouldn't feel overwhelmed. But the more I tried, the more she pulled away. Then came the idea of therapy. We had been struggling with communication, and a friend suggested couples counseling. I thought it was a good step, something to help us reconnect. So we found a therapist, Dr. Reynolds, who came highly recommended. Our first few sessions were uncomfortable but insightful, and I felt like we were making progress in terms of understanding each other. But things took a turn after one particularly intense session about rebuilding trust. I thought we were on the right track, yet the very next day I received a text from a number I didn't recognize. It was a photo of Melissa and Dr. Reynolds together at a cafe, laughing and looking way too comfortable. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but the picture gnawed at me. After a few days of anguish, I confronted Melissa about it. She brushed it off, claiming it was just a casual meeting about our sessions. I wanted to believe her, but my gut told me something was off. I started paying closer attention to her phone and noticed she was getting texts late at night and deleting them quickly. One evening I came home early from work, hoping to surprise her. Instead, I found her car parked outside the therapy office. I felt a wave of panic wash over me as I approached the door. I peered through the window and it hit me like a freight train. There they were, Melissa and Dr. Reynolds, locked in an embrace that no therapist should ever have with a client. I felt my heart stop. I stumbled back, breathless, fighting the urge to scream. I didn't know whether to feel rage or heartbreak. Betrayed by the one person I had trusted the most, and by the very one who was supposed to help us mend our relationship. All I could think about was how I was going to confront her, how I could ever find the right words to express the sheer betrayal I felt. I took a deep breath and decided I needed to know the whole story before I confronted her. I spent the night gathering evidence, checking her texts, her emails. It was like uncovering a shadowy world I had no idea existed. The more I learned, the sicker I felt. The affair with Dr. Reynolds had been going on for months. How could she do this? How could she betray me while we were working on our marriage? When I finally confronted her, I was shaking with rage and hurt. She didn't deny it. In fact, she twisted the knife deeper with every excuse. "You weren't there for me," she said. "You didn't make me feel loved." The accusations cut me deeper than the affair itself. It wasn't just the infidelity, it was the emotional manipulation that followed. In that moment, I realized how far we had fallen. The woman I thought I knew was gone, replaced by someone I barely recognized. The emotional impact was crushing. I felt anger bubbling up, and then came the sadness. I was losing my family, my life, all because of one selfish act. As I sat there staring into her eyes, I knew I had a choice to make. Would I fight for our marriage, or would I walk away? This would be the hardest decision I ever had to face. The confrontation left me reeling. I thought I had prepared myself for this moment, but nothing could have braced me for the reality of it. Melissa's cold, dismissive attitude was like salt in an open wound. I was sitting across from a stranger, not the woman I had shared my life with for over a decade. After I confronted her, she tried to defend herself, claiming it was a connection she couldn't resist. "You don't understand, Jake," she said, her voice dripping with feigned sincerity. "Dr. Reynolds really listened to me. He made me feel seen." Those words were a dagger to my heart. Did she think I hadn't been trying to see her? I had poured my soul into our marriage, and this was the thanks I got. That night I barely slept. I lay awake in our bed, the sheets feeling like a prison instead of a comfort. The silence was suffocating, filled with memories of happier times. Our wedding day, the day we brought Tyler home, the first time we held Lily. Each thought felt like a betrayal of its own. How could I have been so blind? The next day I made a decision. I would confront Dr. Reynolds. I needed to hear his side of the story, to understand how a professional could cross such a clear ethical boundary. I scheduled an appointment, pretending I wanted to discuss our progress as a couple. When I stepped into his office, I felt a mix of anxiety and anger. Dr. Reynolds welcomed me with his usual smile, completely unaware of the storm brewing inside me. I sat down, trying to hide my disdain. "I want to understand something," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "How does a therapist justify sleeping with a client?" His demeanor shifted instantly. The warm smile vanished, replaced by a look of confusion. "Jake, what do you mean?" I pulled out my phone, showing him the photo of Melissa and him together at the cafe. "Is this what you call professionalism? Because I thought therapy was supposed to be about trust and healing, not whatever this is." For a second, he seemed genuinely taken aback, then he tried to salvage his image. "It's not what it looks like. Melissa and I—" "Spare me the excuses," I interrupted, my voice rising. "You should have known better. You took an oath to help people, not to betray them." He fumbled with his words, trying to regain control of the situation. "Jake, I assure you, there's a lot more to this than you understand. Melissa has been through a lot, and I don't care what she's been through," I shot back. "You have a duty to maintain boundaries. You've destroyed my family, and you owe me an explanation." As I stormed out of his office, I felt a rush of adrenaline. I had confronted him, and it felt good to voice my anger. But deep down, I knew this wasn't just about him. It was about Melissa. I had to face her again and get the truth straight from her mouth. What was happening in her head? What had driven her to seek comfort in another man, especially one charged with helping us rebuild our marriage? When I got home, I found Melissa in the living room, scrolling through her phone. She looked up, her expression unreadable as I walked in. Without preamble, I blurted out, "I talked to Dr. Reynolds." Her face paled. "You did what?" "Don't play dumb with me, Melissa. I know what's been happening between you two." Her reaction was instantaneous. "Jake, you're twisting this into something it's not. You don't understand." She threw her hands up defensively, but I wasn't having it. "No, I think I understand perfectly. You went to him for help and ended up in bed with him instead. How could you betray me like this? After everything we've been through." She opened her mouth to respond, but the words never came. Instead, she began to cry, tears streaming down her face. "I didn't want it to happen, Jake. I swear, it just did. Did you ever think about how this would affect our kids, about me?" I shot back, my voice cracking. "Think I'm just going to stand by and let this happen? I won't." At that moment, anger and pain surged through me. I felt like I was losing my grip on everything I thought was stable in my life. I took a deep breath, trying to maintain some semblance of calm. This wasn't just about me and Melissa anymore. This was about our children and the life we built together. "Why Melissa?" I asked, my voice softer now. "Why him? Why betray me this way?" She looked down, unable to meet my gaze. "I don't know, Jake. I felt lost. Dr. Reynolds made me feel important, or desired." I countered, my heart racing. "You didn't think about what this would do to us." Melissa's silence was deafening. I knew right then that I had to weigh my options. We could either attempt to salvage what was left or go our separate ways. But could I truly forgive her betrayal? All I knew was that the road ahead was going to be tough, and my heart was heavy with uncertainty. The weight of the decision I faced settled in, and I felt the emotional impact like a tidal wave crashing down on me. The days that followed were a blur, an emotional whirlwind left in the wake of Melissa's betrayal. I spent hours replaying every moment, every conversation we'd had, searching for answers in the chaos. My mind was a battleground, torn between the desire to fight for my marriage and the urge to walk away from the woman who had shattered my trust. We tried to maintain a facade for the kids, but the tension in our home was palpable. Tyler and Lily sensed something was off. They were too young to understand the adult complexities we were grappling with, but They weren't blind to the cold distance that had settled between us. I tried to keep things normal for their sake, but it was difficult. Each shared meal felt like a reminder of the lies that had infiltrated our lives. One night, as I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, I began to sort through my emotions. Anger, sadness, betrayal, each feeling crashed over me like waves, and I knew I had to make a decision soon. I couldn't keep living in limbo, unable to decide whether to embrace healing or surrender to the pain. I finally gathered the courage to reach out to my best friend, Mark. He had always been a steady presence in my life, someone I could trust to give it to me straight. Over a few beers at his place, I laid it all out. She cheated on me, Mark, with our therapist. I caught them together in his office after our session. He shook his head, a look of disbelief on his face. Man, that's just messed up. I'm so sorry you're going through this. You don't deserve it. I knew he was right, but the guilt still gnawed at me. I do know what to do. I want to fight for my family, but can I ever truly forgive her? How do I even begin to trust again? Mark leaned back, considering my words. That's a call only you can make, but you have to think about yourself too. Your happiness matters. If you stay, it has to be because you genuinely believe she can change, not out of obligation. His words hung in the air as I drove home that night. Could I really believe in change, or was I just clinging to the life I used to know? What would it take for me to trust her again? The following day, I found myself sitting in our living room staring at Melissa. She looked tired and worn, and for a moment I felt a flicker of compassion. I knew she was struggling too. I think we need to talk, I said, my voice steady. About what? She asked, her eyes wary. About us. About what happened and what we're going to do next. I want to fix this, Jake, she said, her voice trembling. I realize how badly I hurt you, and I regret it every day. Do you really? I pressed, because regret is just words. What are you willing to do to prove that you want to repair this? I'll do anything, she exclaimed, desperation etched across her face. I'll go to individual therapy, I'll quit seeing Dr. Reynolds, I'll even take a break from work if that's what it takes. Just don't give up on me. Her pleas stirred something inside me. A part of me wanted to believe her, to believe we could rebuild. But another part nagged at me, reminding me of the betrayal. I don't even know who you are anymore, Melissa. You made choices that hurt us. How do I know you won't do it again? The silence that followed was heavy, filled with unspoken words and shattered trust. I understand, she whispered, but I swear I will fight for you, for us. Just give me a chance. Her vulnerability pulled at my heartstrings. Maybe, just maybe, there was a chance for us to rebuild. So I proposed we give it one more shot, but with conditions. I wanted her to commit to individual therapy, and we would attend couples therapy again, but this time with a different therapist. I needed to know she was serious about fixing the damage she had caused. Melissa agreed, her eyes glistening with tears. I promise, Jake, I won't take this for granted. That moment marked a tentative step toward healing. We started seeing a new therapist, Dr. Shaw, who specialized in infidelity recovery. The first session was tough. I didn't know how to communicate my feelings without letting anger take control. But I also saw a flicker of hope in Melissa. She was willing to be vulnerable, to dissect the pain she had caused. As we navigated through our sessions, I could see glimpses of the woman I had fallen in love with. She was opening up about her insecurities, her fears, the things that had driven her to seek validation outside of our marriage. I wanted to believe her, to trust that she was on a path to change. Yet, the doubt still loomed. Even during therapy, I would catch myself scrutinizing her every move, analyzing her behavior for signs of deceit. I didn't want to be that person, consumed by jealousy and fear. The emotional turmoil was exhausting. Things began to improve gradually. We spent more time together, rediscovering the little things we enjoyed before everything fell apart. Family movie nights, game nights with the kids, each moment was a small victory against the backdrop of our troubled past. But the nagging voice in the back of my head kept reminding me of the betrayal. How could I truly heal when the memory of her infidelity was so fresh? Would I ever be able to let go of the anger that had taken residence in my heart? As I wrestled with these feelings, I realized that the road to recovery would be long and arduous. But for the first time in a while, I felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe we could find our way back to each other. It wouldn't be easy, but perhaps love, when nourished by honesty and commitment, could still bloom from the ashes of betrayal. I knew we had a long way to go, but in that moment I felt determined to keep moving forward, one step at a time. As the weeks rolled on, our sessions with Dr. Shaw became a crucial part of our lives. Each meeting was a blend of confrontation and vulnerability, where we unpacked the layers of betrayal and hurt. I often left those sessions feeling drained but oddly relieved, like we were purging all the poison that had settled in our relationship. Dr. Shaw had a talent for getting us to engage in raw conversations. She encouraged us to communicate openly about our feelings without fear of judgment. At first, it was awkward. I'd find myself hesitating, unsure of how to voice my pain without sounding accusatory. But as Melissa began to share her own struggles, it became easier. During one session, she spoke about her feelings of inadequacy, how the pressures of being a mother and a wife had made her feel lost. I thought if I could just feel wanted, it would fill the emptiness, she admitted, her voice shaking. But I was wrong. I see that now. Hearing her vulnerability was a double-edged sword. On one hand, I was grateful she was finally opening up. On the other, it stirred a cocktail of empathy and resentment inside me. I wanted to comfort her, but the emotional scars were still fresh. "Didn't you think about how your actions would affect me, our family?" I asked, struggling to keep the hurt from seeping into my voice. "I didn't think about anything but myself," she replied, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I was selfish. I thought I could fill the void with temporary happiness, but it only made everything worse." The honesty was refreshing, but it still left me grappling with my feelings. For every moment that felt like progress, there were numerous reminders of the past that clawed at me. I found myself checking her phone more often, still haunted by what she had done. She had moved her therapist's number to a hidden contact, and every time I caught a glimpse of her phone, my heart raced. While I was working on forgiveness, I was also battling my insecurities. I hated how I felt like I was living in her shadow, constantly fearing betrayal lurked around the corner. I had told myself I wouldn't be that person, but here I was, consumed by doubt. I felt like a shell of my former self, oscillating between hope and despair. One evening, after a particularly intense therapy session, I returned home to find Melissa cooking dinner. The aroma of her homemade pasta filled the air, and moment it felt like old times. We talked about our day, trying to recapture some normalcy, but I could sense the tension simmering beneath the surface. "Hey, can we talk about something?" I began hesitantly, aware that the conversation might derail our fragile equilibrium. "Sure, what's on your mind?" she asked, her back turned to me as she stirred the sauce. "I wanted to bring up something that's been bothering me." She turned, her expression shifting from curiosity to concern. "What is it?" "I've been feeling this need to check your phone. I know it's not healthy, but I can't shake the feeling that it would give me peace of mind," I admitted, feeling the weight of my vulnerability. She sighed, her shoulders drooping slightly. "Jake, I understand. I'll do anything to help rebuild your trust, but I need you to trust me too. Checking my phone isn't going to help either of us." "I know, but I can't help it. It's like I'm living in fear that you'll slip up again," I said, my voice cracking as I fought back the tears. "I swear I won't," she said earnestly. "I'm committing myself to us to making this work." We discussed boundaries and the importance of transparency. It was a long conversation, and I could see the sincerity in her eyes. I wanted to believe her, but the specter of betrayal hovered over us. I needed to confront these feelings head-on, to work through my insecurities rather than let them fester. A few nights later, while scrolling through my phone, I stumbled upon an article titled "Rebuilding Trust After Infidelity." I clicked on it, hoping it would provide some guidance. As I read through the points, it struck me how important it was to focus on the present rather than the past. Trust couldn't be rebuilt in a moment. It took time, patience, and effort from both sides. That realization lit a fire inside me. I decided I needed to focus on the positive aspects of our relationship. We had shared a life together. We had raised two beautiful children. I wanted to remember the laughter and love that once filled our home. So I made a list of things that reminded me of the love we shared, our adventures, our dreams, the little moments that made Us a family, it was a start. I shared the list with Melissa and I could see a spark of hope in her eyes. I remember that trip to the beach. You made the best sandcastle, she laughed, her voice lightening. Yeah, and don't forget the time we got lost trying to find that diner. I replied, chuckling. We spent that evening reminiscing, laughing, and sharing stories, and in that moment I felt a flicker of the connection that had brought us together in the first place. Maybe this was how we could start to rebuild, not just by working through our problems, but by reconnecting with the love that still existed beneath the surface. But the challenges were far from over. Just as I thought we were making progress, the reality of our situation would rear its ugly head. One evening, as we were putting the kids to bed, Melissa received a text from an unknown number. I watched as her face shifted, a mix of confusion and anxiety washing over her. I don't know who this is, she said, glancing over at me with wide eyes. What does it say? I asked, a knot forming in my stomach. Just something about wanting to meet up, she replied hesitantly, her voice trembling. A wave of anger surged through me. Who is it? Are you still involved with anyone? No, of course not, I swear, she exclaimed, her hands shaking. It's probably just a wrong number. But as she fidgeted with her phone, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was a test. How could we ever build trust if the shadows of her past continue to haunt us? That night I lay awake, staring at the ceiling again, my heart racing with uncertainty. I could feel the walls closing in. I had started to open up, to allow hope back into my life, but the sudden reminder of betrayal sent me spiraling back into doubt. It felt like we were teetering on the edge of a precipice, and I didn't know if we would rise above it or fall apart. I had to decide. Would I trust her, or would I always be looking over my shoulder, waiting for the next betrayal to unfold? The emotional battle raged on, and I knew that the path to healing would require more than just hope. It would demand courage, resilience, and an unwavering commitment to face whatever lay ahead. The days that followed the mysterious text were tense. I tried to act as if everything was normal, but I could feel a heaviness in the air. Melissa was on edge, and the kids sensed it too. Tyler had started asking questions about why Mommy and Daddy were arguing, while Lily just wanted to know when we could all go back to the park. Their innocence made my heart ache even more. I could see the toll it was taking on Melissa, too. She was trying her best to be the loving mother she had always been, but the pressure weighed heavily on her. I wanted to reassure her that we were going to be okay, but how could I do that when I wasn't even sure myself? In our next therapy session with Dr. Shaw, I brought up the text. I don't know what to think, Dr. Shaw. On one hand, I want to trust Melissa, but this anonymous message, it just brings all the old fears rushing back. Melissa looked at me, her eyes pleading. I swear I don't know who it is. I've cut ties with everyone from my past. I'm committed to you and the kids. This is just an unfortunate coincidence. Dr. Shaw nodded, acknowledging our emotions. Trust is fragile and it takes time to rebuild. But Jake, if you want to move forward, you need to communicate your fears without letting them control you. I took a deep breath, the weight of the moment pressing down on me. I just want to feel secure in our marriage again. Every time something like this happens, it's like I'm thrust back into the pain of your betrayal. Melissa wiped away a tear. I understand. I'm trying to be better, really, but I can't change the past. I need you to trust me. The session ended with a mix of emotions swirling around us. I wanted to believe her, to trust that she was being honest, but the shadows of doubt lingered like a storm cloud. After a few days of uncertainty, the unknown number texted Melissa again. This time I couldn't hold back my feelings. Who is it, Melissa? Do you want to tell me about this person? I asked, frustration creeping into my voice. I don't know, Jake. It could just be someone trying to mess with our heads. I promise it's not what you think. She snapped back, her eyes flashing with anger. It was the first time I had seen her lose her composure since the affair had come to light. In that moment, an unexpected realization struck me. We were both in a place of fear. Fear of losing what we had tried to rebuild, fear of slipping back into the dark past. I decided to take a step back, to approach this situation calmly rather than letting anger dictate my actions. Okay, let's treat this as if it's nothing. We'll ignore it for now, I suggested, trying to remain level-headed. Melissa nodded, seeming relieved that I wasn't pressing further. I think that's the best idea. If it's nothing, it'll blow over. We should focus on healing. The next few days passed quietly. I tried to engage more with the kids, to distract myself from the uncertainty surrounding our marriage. We played board games, had movie nights, and spent time outside, creating small moments of joy amidst the chaos. But even as I attempted to focus on the positive, I found myself constantly checking Melissa's phone. It was a habit I couldn't shake off. I told myself I was looking out for her, but deep down, I knew I was still grappling with the fear of another betrayal. One evening, while the kids were asleep, I found myself scrolling through social media. I noticed a notification that Melissa had received a friend request from someone named Mike. My heart sank. I recognized the name. It was a guy from her past, someone she had mentioned during one of our therapy sessions. The old insecurities bubbled to the surface. I recalled how she had said they were just friends, but I couldn't help but feel a surge of anger. "You've got to be kidding me," I muttered to myself. I approached her cautiously, still shaken by the revelation. "Melissa, can we talk?" "About what?" she asked, her tone casual as she folded laundry. "About this friend request you received from Mike," I said, my voice steady but my heart racing. She froze, her hands pausing mid-fold. "Oh, that. I meant to tell you. He reached out to me to catch up. We're friends back in college." "Friends," I repeated, incredulous. "After everything we're going through, why would you want to reconnect with someone from your past?" "Jake, I promise it's innocent. He just wanted to see how I was doing," she said defensively. "Do you realize how this looks from my perspective?" I shot back. "I'm trying to trust you, but every time I turn around, there's something new that shakes that trust. This feels like a step backward." "I know it does, but you have to believe me. I'm not the same person I was before. I'm committed to us," she pleaded, her face etched with desperation. My heart ached for her sincerity, but the fear gnawed at me. "You say that, but how can I be sure? How can I trust you when you're opening doors to people who were part of your life before?" "I won't respond to him, I promise. I'll block him if that's what it takes," she offered, her voice breaking. As the tension hung thick in the air, I knew we were at a crossroads. I could either let this situation escalate and potentially drive us further apart, or take a step back and assess what really mattered. "No, don't block him. Just let me know if he reaches out again. I want you to be honest about everything, even if it makes me uncomfortable." She nodded, her expression a mixture of relief and concern. "Thank you for understanding. I really am trying to do better." That night, I lay in bed feeling conflicted. I wanted to believe in her commitment, but the storm of insecurity still raged within me. Trust was a fragile thing, and each new encounter felt like a test I was failing. I realized I needed to focus on myself as much as I focused on our relationship. I decided to revisit my own therapy sessions with a new therapist, someone I could talk to about my feelings and fears. I believed it would help me gain clarity and strength moving forward. After a few sessions, my therapist encouraged me to focus on building self-esteem and recognizing my worth. "You can't control others' actions, Jake," she said gently. "All you can do is focus on what you truly want and deserve." As I began to embrace this mindset, I found myself becoming more assertive in my conversations with Melissa. I was no longer just a passive participant in our healing process. I was reclaiming my voice. One evening, I suggested we go for a walk together, just the two of us. The sun was setting, and the sky was painted in hues of orange and pink, casting a warm glow over our neighborhood. It felt like the perfect backdrop to reconnect, away from the distractions of our daily lives. As we walked side by side, the silence was comfortable, filled with the occasional laughter shared over old memories. After a while, I decided to open up. "You know, I want this to work, Melissa, I really do, but I need to know you're fully committed to rebuilding our trust." "I am, Jake, I promise. I'm doing everything I can," she replied, her voice earnest. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of my words. "Then let's make a pact to be honest with each other, no matter how hard it gets. If something is bothering you, I want you to talk to me about it. We're in this together, but I can't do it alone." Tears glistened in her eyes as she nodded. "I promise. No more secrets, no more lies. I'll fight for us, Jake." In that moment, something shifted between us. It was a small step, but it felt monumental. We were both willing to face the truth, regardless of how painful it might be. As we continued our walk under the fading light of the day, I realized that healing would be a journey, not a destination. We would face challenges, but if we both committed to honesty and vulnerability, we could reclaim the love that had once flourished between us. The shadows of the past still loomed, but for the first time, I felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, we could find a way to navigate this complicated landscape together. The road ahead was uncertain, but I was ready to face it with Melissa by my side. The weeks that followed our heartfelt walk were a blend of progress and setbacks. We were both working hard to keep our promise of honesty. The lingering effects of the betrayal still haunted me, but I felt determined to push through. I wanted to believe that love could conquer. The scars of infidelity. One evening after dinner, Melissa suggested we play a board game with the kids. I could see the enthusiasm in her eyes, a flicker of the life we had built together before everything fell apart. As we gathered around the table, laughter filled the room. For a moment, it felt like we were a family again, the tension of our past momentarily forgotten. But beneath the surface, I was still grappling with my feelings. Each time Melissa glanced at her phone, a knot would form in my stomach. Was she really committed to rebuilding our trust, or was she just pretending? The uncertainty lingered, and I knew I had to confront it head-on. Not long after our board game night, while cleaning up, I found an envelope tucked away in the back of the kitchen drawer. It was addressed to Melissa but left unopened. My heart raced as I pulled it out. The return address was from a law office. Panic surged through me as I wondered what it could possibly mean. "Melissa," I called out as I held the envelope. She rushed into the kitchen, and I could see the color drain from her face when she saw what I was holding. "What is this?" Her eyes darted to the envelope, panic etched on her features. "I forgot about that," she stammered. "It's just some paperwork for a student loan. I didn't think it was important." "Didn't think it was important? Why didn't you just open it?" I pressed, my frustration boiling over. "It's complicated. I didn't want to deal with it right now," she replied, avoiding my gaze. The knot in my stomach tightened. "Melissa, this doesn't feel right. It feels like you're hiding something again." "No, I swear it's nothing. I've been dealing with a lot." "Then let me help. Don't shut me out again," I interrupted, my voice rising. I felt a wave of anger wash over me, fueled by the memories of betrayal. She took a deep breath, her expression softening. "You're right. I shouldn't have kept it from you. I'm sorry. I'll open it right now." As she opened the envelope, I felt a mix of dread and anticipation. The tension in the room was thick. She read through the contents, her face shifting from confusion to relief. "It's just a notification about a payment plan. I thought I had it under control," she said, exhaling in a rush. I was still on edge. "Why not just tell me? Do you think I want to add to your stress?" "I didn't want to burden you more. I thought I could handle it," she admitted, her voice low. That moment was a turning point. I realized I had to let go of my need for constant reassurance. We were both healing, and part of that healing meant allowing each other to be vulnerable. "You're not a burden, Melissa. We're a team. Remember our pact. We need to support each other through everything," I said gently. She nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. "I know. I'm sorry. I'll do better." In the days that followed, we both began to lean into the uncomfortable feelings of vulnerability. We talked openly about finances, parenting, and even our deepest fears. Dr. Shaw had encouraged us to rebuild our emotional intimacy, and while it was awkward at times, we slowly began to connect on a deeper level. We also committed to regular date nights, which became a sanctuary for us to reconnect. One Friday, we went to a local restaurant, one we used to frequent before everything fell apart. As we reminisced about old times, I felt a flicker of hope. We were beginning to create new memories, ones rooted in honesty and newfound trust. Our conversations shifted from the past to our future. "What do you want out of our marriage, Jake?" she asked one night. "I want to feel secure. I want to know that we're in this together for the long haul," I replied. "And I want to build a life where our kids feel safe and loved." Melissa smiled, her eyes shining. "Me too. I want to be a better partner, a better mom. I want us to be happy again." It was a small step, but it felt monumental. We were both willing to lay bare our desires and dreams, and it felt like the foundation we were rebuilding was finally starting to take shape. As time passed, the sting of betrayal began to dull. It was replaced with a deeper understanding of one another. We became more intentional in our actions, focusing on communication and vulnerability rather than fear and suspicion. Then came the day I received a text from Dr. Shaw asking how we were progressing. I felt nervous about sharing our journey, but I also wanted to acknowledge how far we had come. I replied honestly, expressing our struggles but also the progress we had made together. Later, I shared the exchange with Melissa. "We've come a long way," I said, feeling a wave of pride. "I think we're finally finding our way back to each other." "I agree," she said, beaming. "And we're doing it together, one step at a time." That evening, as we tucked the kids into bed, I watched Melissa lean down to kiss them good night. The sight filled my heart with warmth. The shadows of the past still loomed, but they were becoming less daunting. As I climbed into bed beside her, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. We weren't perfect, and our journey was far from over, but we were willing to fight for one another. In that moment, I understood that healing isn't linear. It's messy, complicated, and often filled with setbacks. But as long as we remained committed to honesty, resilience, and love, I believed we could face whatever challenges lay ahead. Melissa and I were not just surviving, we were learning to thrive together. As I drifted off to sleep, I realized that trust, while difficult to rebuild, could still be reignited. Love was still there, waiting for us to nurture it back to life. And perhaps that was the most important lesson of all. Sometimes, the hardest battles lead to the most beautiful victories.